your plumber might not want you to know this, but I think pretty much anyone can do what I'm about to show you, and it's really simple to learn. So like it doesn't take a lot to learn at least the basics of what I'm about to show you. So the first thing I'm going to do, so first of all, I made sure I had enough pipe in the crawl space to get back to the manifold. So at this point, all of this is extra. So I'm going to cut this somewhere close to the wall. All of this that's left is going to get pulled into the wall. So first of all, let me cut this off. You know, should be obvious, but try to keep this thing square to the pipe to get a nice like square cut. That's going to be important. Okay, and I'm using, this is a large cutter that can handle up to 2-inch PVC, but it's also, kind of also meant for cutting PEX. But you can also get like a much smaller version of this that's designed just to handle PEX, so like up to like a 1-inch PEX line. And so that's probably like more convenient. But this, does PVC and PEX for me, so I just use it because it gets the job done. Okay, and then I'm gonna cut off like a very short, maybe 6 inch is gonna be plenty, piece of this, and that's gonna be my stub out. Okay, I'll get the rest of this out of here. Now, I've got, what I'm using here is a elbow. So this is a 90-degree fitting, and so the pipe coming up out of the wall, the pipe in the wall is going to be running vertically, and then my stub out coming out of the wall is going to be running horizontal. So I've got a 90-degree elbow for that. So I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to try to straighten my pipe out a little bit, and then kind of put this at the angle so that when this gets pulled into the wall, the stub out will be sticking straight out, more or less. So first of all, I'm kind of straightening this up. Okay, now this goes in the pipe, but before we do that, what we need to do is put on, in my case, I'm using pinch clamps. And so there's two different main there's two different main ways to make the connection between the fitting and the pipe. And so one is these pinch clamps. The other common one you'll see is called crimp rings. And so it can be kind of confusing, clamps versus crimps. But so the crimp rings are a solid piece of copper, and it's literally being like compressed down to crimp onto the pipe. Whereas these pinch clamps, it's not deforming it's not deforming the whole thing. You're just pinching. Let me show you this. So like, you can see that little part that's sticking out right here. So that part gets pinched down, and that tightens up, that cinches up the rest of the clamp in here. And so anyway, so two different ways to kind of accomplish the same thing. The way this works is you put this on the pipe first, and then you put your fitting on. Then the pinch clamp needs to be between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch from the end of the pipe. Okay, so in this case, the way you pinch the clamp down on there is with a special tool. You have to have a special tool, whether you're working with the pinch clamps or the crimp rings. Either way, it's two different tools. And either way, it's a special tool, that you're not going to have if you've never worked with this before. But you do have to get the special tool. I got the cheapest one that I could find. I think this one was like $40. And so that's kind of the big difference between the pinch clamps and the crimp rings. The crimp rings, the materials, like the actual rings, are cheaper, whereas these pinch clamps are more expensive. But the tool to work with it, I think, is like in the $100 range. It was a lot more expensive. It was just like, at least for me, when I was first working with PEX, it was on my kitchen, and I only had to do a couple of short runs of pipe And so it was just hard. I couldn't wrap my mind around spending, $100 or something on a single tool just to make these connections. And so this was the cheapest tool I could find. Like I said, I think it was about $40, and they do make like bigger versions of this so you can get more leverage and stuff. But then the downside of that is you can't get into as tight of spaces. Okay, so let's actually do this. Let's actually make the connection here. Then the only step left is to take this tool, and this is designed so that as you push down, it locks and does not back out until you get all the way to the bottom, until you get all the way, until you get a good, complete pinch on the pinch clamp. But here's what happens. So you put this on here, and you get that little part that sticks out of the ring under the clamp teeth, and then you just push down. And so, like I said, it doesn't let you come off until you get a good clamp. And so there you go. That's done. And I'll bring you up close here, try to give you a good look at that. Okay, so there is the finished connection. So okay, so pretty simple. When I didn't grab my valve, but after the drywall is done and when it comes time to topping out, like installing the finished valves and everything, then I will cut this a little bit shorter so that it's not sticking out of the wall more than it needs to, and install a valve. And that's the same process. So the valve, like the quarter turn valve to turn off the water, to shut off the water to the toilet, that has a barb on the end, similar to what this elbow has on each end. And so, I'll put my ring on, put that valve in there, and then clamp it down just like you saw me. And so that's what it takes to go around and make all the connections for your PEX system. So, there's nothing there that you can't learn how to do. Like pretty much now you probably know enough that you could go ahead and install this stuff just from what I've shown you.